to chaos. Today, I want to talk to you about how to deal with shocks that happen in the workplace. So what happens when you get shocked and disrupted and there's change and there's massive uncertainty that's happening in the workplace? We saw an example of this recently with WeWork. WeWork is a startup that has this office sharing business around the world, very popular business. What happened was the CEO and founder got all this money and he was ousted from the company. The company was supposed to go public and didn't, and the IPO was scrapped, leaving behind a lot of people, a lot of hardworking people at WeWork who are still there and saying, what do I do? Oh my gosh, what do I do? I was promised all of these things, the stock options, we're going to go public, I was going to make money and I was going to grow in this business, but now the management team is changing, the business is changing, our investor, SoftBank and others are taking over the company and trying to make these massive changes. So what do I do? What do you do if you're working in an environment where there's so much change and chaos that's happening? So some examples I'd like to share with you that happened in my career, in my life, and to maybe that might be helpful to you. So the first thing is, I think what we have to learn to do when we get chaos and all this massive change at work is accept. We must accept that it happened and that this change that happened was not part of our control, not part of our plan, but it happened. And so what we have to learn to do is to accept that your current situation as it is. Don't paint it in such a bad way, but you don't want to be too rosy and optimistic either. You want to be somewhere in the middle. And so one of the things that happened when my career over the years in big companies and small one was I was sadly disappointed by my manager who promised me all of these things. I worked for a small company where there was a CEO who promised me all these things, and it didn't turn out to be the case. And so I was very disappointed, and I became stressed, I became anxious, I became really upset at him for not taking care of me. And that did nothing to help me grow. It did nothing except waste my time. And so my suggestion is, once I learned to accept that that was my current situation, I could begin to rebuild my life and the path forward. So my suggestion to you, if you're in a situation where there's chaos suddenly that comes to you, there's change that suddenly that comes to you, is to, number one, don't dwell on it so much. So accept it. Accept that it happened. Recognize that there's certain things you can control and there's certain things you can't. And so that's really the second point. The second example is focus on what you can control, not on the things you can't. For example, WeWork, this situation that happened recently with WeWork. Yes, the CEO, the founder got all this money. That's a very juicy, gossipy thing to focus on, especially when it's in the press all over the place. And what I would suggest is you not focus on that. We really focus on what do you do day to day to rebuild the business forward, to continue growing the opportunities ahead of you. Now you're also thinking to yourself, well, should you leave? Should you leave the company? Absolutely think about those options. Consider those options. But more importantly, what I'm suggesting is, second point is focus on what you can control day to day. Every day come in with a positive attitude. If you have to look for another job, look for another job. If you want to look for another job, I would encourage you to look for another job. But more importantly than that, have focus. Focus on the things you can control today, which is the work you do, the actions you take, the thoughts you think, helping colleagues build the business forward. Keep the momentum going. Keep the momentum going strong. So it's really the second point is to focusing on what you can control. In my own personal experience, when I was working for a big company, we had a massive change. A new CEO came in and everyone was uncertain about their jobs, their careers, and their future. And there was a lot of talk about what the new organization would look like, what the new CEO would do, what the changes would be made, how we were going to grow the business, what would the business model would look like, would there be a merger and acquisition? We didn't know. And I found that a lot of people focused on that. So much of gossiping and talking about the future and trying to plan and predict what could happen. The reality is that's a waste of time because no one can predict the future. no one can figure out why with great accuracy what can happen. So what I would propose you do is really focus your energies on the actions you take, on the things you can control today. The third thing is stop overthinking and overanalyzing everything. What happens when we have so much change is we ask, why did this happen? Oh my gosh, why did this happen? Why did it happen to us? Why did this happen to my department, my team? Why did this happen to me? Why does this happen to my life? I have all this stuff going on. So we ask why. We ask, we overanalyze. Well, if we would have done this, this would happen, or that, or maybe this is going to happen. We play out these scenarios in our head of what happened, why it happened, how could this happen. We overthink. So what I would suggest to you is number 3, stop overthinking, overanalyzing, and trying to predict the future. You can't. We cannot predict the future. That really is a waste of time and energy. But instead, what I suggest you do is number 4, is to find a group of people, peer group, outside of your organization, inside your organization, your friends, your network, people who are supportive, who are going to focus you on the right track, people who are going to move you forward, who are going to not talk about what happened and how much money your CEO made at WeWork and left the company, none of that, but really focusing you back on a very positive path of how do you move forward now, how do you rebuild your life, how do you rebuild your career, how do you move forward. That's really the question at hand. So get a peer group. We human beings are very social, and so we're encouraged by people who lift us up. So surround yourself with people who lift you up, not pull you down. There's evidence, the scientific evidence is that we weigh the average of 5 people around us, or our income is that of 5 people around us, the average of 5 people around us. We're social creatures, and we're lifted up by those who inspire us, and we're pulled down well, people who talk negative things and pull us and are trying to drown us in gossip and other nonsense. And the 5th thing I would suggest you do, if you're facing chaos in a workplace, an organization, sudden change that might hit you, like those colleagues at WeWork, is take action. Find a way to contribute something small to someone else every single day. Okay, that's how you move forward, is by focusing your energies and effort and mindset on taking action, moving forward. Make a call, send an email, take a meeting, go visit with a customer, go visit with a colleague, get out, go and talk to people, go engage the marketplace. Really, that's the way you begin to move things forward. Remember, action has consequence, good or bad. If it's bad, well, don't do that. If it's good, continue doing that. And one thing happens when you take action, you start beginning to move forward is, number 1, you feel good. You really feel like you're moving and doing something positive. You're actually doing something about things you can control. Number 2, what happens is, you get a response from somebody. And that response is often helpful in reformulating your thoughts, and then you feel sort of valuable, you feel meaningful, you feel a connection with somebody. And the 3rd is you get momentum. And momentum begins to build and build and build and build and build. And suddenly you find yourself in a place of success. I think, in summary, let me wrap up. Let me wrap up. All right, in summary, I think what's happening is there's a lot more chaos and change and sudden shocks in the workplace than ever before. We've seen this with WeWork recently. We see it recently with McDonald's, where the CEO suddenly resigned. We see it with so many organizations and companies. And that's because the world is changing very fast. And so what I believe that there are opportunities to grow despite the change and the chaos that's around us. What happens is we get stuck when we start overthinking and overanalyzing situations. And so I believe you can begin to move forward, by number 1, accepting that the change is here and not dwelling on it too much. Stop overthinking, getting yourself in good peer group, and beginning to move forward in a way by taking actions that actually put you in a path of success, meaning, and contribution. This is Bob Miglani. Hope this video has been helpful to you. With love and respect for all that you do. Have a great day.